My wife of 7 years, mother of my children, only woman I've ever been with cheated on me. I feel like a loved one died. I found out early Saturday morning. We had decided to separate on Wednesday, which already hurt more than anything I'd ever gone through. But there was still a connection. We had sex a couple of times in the following days, cried a lot, and I thought that maybe after we started trying to hash our agreement out we would decide that no, this is too much, it's too real, let's commit to giving us another chance, let's make it work, for the kids, for ourselves. Well, I had an awful gut feeling, anyways. It's hard to explain exactly why I thought maybe there was someone else. It was just an instinct based on some of her behavior lately, and after she came home at nearly 4 a.m. from her bartending shift, and after we had sex again, I waited for her to fall asleep and did a not good thing and snooped through her phone. We've always known each other's passwords, we've always had open access to one another's phones. She didn't even try to hide it, really. It was all right there in her texts. A dad from the place our kids take gymnastics classes at, whose son loves to play monster trucks with our son. They started doing play dates for the kids, while I'm at work, and developed a connection. He has his own business and is already divorced, or never got married but he doesn't always have his kids, so some nights he'd go visit her while she was working at the bar. One night he stayed super late, I guess, they drank together, got drunk, and did their thing. Thinking about her with someone else hurts so much. She is the only woman I've ever been with. She actually came onto me over the weekend and I felt so lonely that I caved to the impulse and we had sex, which I regret honestly, and I couldn't stop thinking about her being with him the entire time. I had to stop in the middle. That's when I told her I knew. Last night I was playing with my kids while she was at work, and my son was using a play phone and said, "Ring ring, hello? Who is it?" "Oh. It's the guy." That sucked. That was savage, little man, absolutely savage. I can tell they had a real emotional connection, and that made it so much worse. She went and found someone else instead of trying to reconnect with me. Someone who had time to be with her, while I was working or with our children. Our marriage has always been rocky, and her grievances she listed on Wednesday when we talked about separating, before I found out about the cheating, are legitimate. I even had my own grievances that had me thinking along the same lines as her. Can I do this anymore? Should we just end it? But no, we said oaths and did the whole marriage thing, and I was committed to figuring us out. There were so many good times, so much history, so many amazing memories and stories. We just barely ever had an actual time to be together lately, and when we did we didn't spend it with each other, which was stupid. But to me it felt like a phase. We are so hard on money right now, so she picked up a job bartending and was doing Uber deliveries and stuff at nights, after I worked my day job. So I wake up, go to work, she does the kid things all day, then I get home and she either leaves or is already gone, my sister is watching them if she's gone, and I do kid things and chores at night and often get them to bed long before she's home, and on nights she's bartending I go to sleep well before she gets back. On those days we only see each other for a couple of minutes in the morning. But it's just temporary, I thought. We were only doing this horrible schedule for long enough to get back on track, to figure something else out. We were just doing what we had to do to fix our money for the kids. It never felt like we weren't a couple, I never felt like she didn't love me, and I never meant to make her feel like I didn't love her. I just wished she had talked to me more. I wish she had told me how upset she really was so we could work on it. I don't feel like they were abnormal, uncommon things that tons of other married couples don't have to work through at some point. There is still love from both sides. She's been a complete mess, I've been a complete mess. She was drunk and regrets it so much, allegedly at least, but I can't look at her the same. I wish she had just come to me and told me how low she was feeling about our marriage. She wishes she could take it back, but we both know she can't. I hurt so much. I just feel empty. I feel like a close loved one died. I have never cried so much in my life. She is the only woman I have ever even had an adult relationship with, at 30 years old. I've never gone through a breakup before. I feel like a complete mess and want the pain to go away. Story 2. My wife cheated and I don't know if I can forgive her. I, 26M, have been married to my wife, 26F, for 1 year, but we've been together for 6. We have a pretty special story overall. We've known each other for approximately 21 years now. We went to the same kindergarten, but eventually in elementary school, I had to move. But when I was in senior year of high school, we reconnected, became friends again, then best friends for a couple of years, all platonic, and finally started a relationship back in 2017. Up until that point, I can say I was kind of the jealous type. Because of my previous high school relationship, I had some trust issues, but the fact that we were best friends first dialed back those issues. I guess one important fact that I was missing here is that we were our first sexual partners. We've had ups and downs, as all relationships, but we always came out on top, solving everything. Last year, almost exactly 1 year actually, October 22nd, 2022, we got married, a special ceremony and all. Now, I never had an issue with her college friends. She would go out and have fun, sometimes I'd go with her, sometimes I wouldn't, and that was fine. I know my wife is gorgeous, she's always been, and I knew she was the crush of most of her friends, but she did have a crush on one of them. For the purposes of the story, I'll call him X. She had a thing with X back in the first year of college, which I just found out, but never anything serious and, like I said, never anything physical, as we were our firsts. Now, she told me that in that time, they discussed starting a relationship, having sex and that kind of stuff, but it never really happened. He moved on, and eventually started dating the woman he's married now and has a child with. I'm a software developer and she's a biologist, and because of nature of our careers, I work from home and she has to go visit shrimp farms and even sometimes, travel to other provinces. X is a biologist as well, and my wife and him share the same route, and sometimes they used to meet to catch up. In one of her trips to another province, he traveled with her, because he wanted leads for new clients over there. At the end of the day, they went out for a couple of drinks and started talking about how they used to have a thing, one thing lead to another, and they ended up having sex. I didn't know he was going with her over there, and if I knew, I'd have told my wife. He wanted something from her and not just the leads. I'm not stupid, I know my wife wanted it too, and that's why she didn't tell me he was going over there with her in the first place. They met a couple of times after that in our city. I noticed for the last couple of weeks, my wife was behaving strange when I was around, and I asked her what was up, but she didn't say anything. Yesterday I noticed something strange in her bag that she travels with, a dress she usually uses when we go to the beach. We actually went to beach last month, before anything started with X. I think she just forgot to take it out, but in that moment I didn't remember our trip, so it just clicked the wrong way with me seeing that dress in her bag, and I had to do something about it. I know privacy is important, but I was probably at my lowest, thinking the worst, so I know her iPad password and I knew her socials were logged in there. That's how I found out everything with X, all the sneaky messages and how they were having fun. I get sick just thinking about it. My whole world broke down. I'm a hopeless romantic, always been. I felt in my heart I was marrying the love of my life. I still think she is the love of my life. And I'm not religious, but I grew up in a Catholic house, so I've always had this thought that if I was going to get married, it'd be forever. Once and with the right one, and that's it. I faced her with the messages and everything I found out. She broke down to tears and begged for forgiveness, begged me to stay. She told me she would quit her job if that's what it takes to save what's left of our marriage. She actually told me that everything was her fault, entirely, and that I didn't have to think for a second that it was my fault by any means. She told me that she got carried away by the thrill of it and that she deeply regrets it and that she's really disgusted of herself. And I want to believe her, but on the other hand, I know if I hadn't found out about this, they already had plans to meet next week after a big expo that's held yearly for the shrimp sector in my country. So yeah, she realized that she was doing something wrong, apparently, but only after I found out. And that's really bugging me. What if I didn't find out? We actually stayed up all night, both of us crying and talking. Him and her, it's all I can think about. I barely slept, and I have barely eaten since yesterday. I always said to myself that if I ever went through something like this, I would leave that woman. But I'm still at home, with her, trying to figure what to do.